Okay, we're in the sun here. Come here with me. Okay. So we're trying live stream again because we tried to do a scheduled live stream and it didn't work. So if you're here, thank you for coming. Welcome to the Human Frequencies first scheduled live stream. I'm going to go back to the other link and let Gabe talk, and I will give you the link to this. Do you know how to give them a link to this next live stream?
I can't log into a different live stream while we're already on another live stream. So I don't think we can do that.
See if you can come in and join us.
Okay, we got one. We got one.
We got one? Okay. If you're here, and I want to go to the other live stream and put a little comment on it. So
we
can't
do that.
I think I can. So no, we can't? Okay.
No. You can't join multiple live streams,
all right.
Unfortunately.
Well, it looks like people are coming. Okay,
we got a few people, so...
Okay, well, I'm not surprised that YouTube screwed with us and made it impossible for us to do this, because last week we did a test live stream. It went perfect. And we did everything the same today, and it didn't work. So anyway, if you're here, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming.
So if someone wants to say something in the chat box to let us know that you can see us, you can hear us.
And if you would please, if it's possible, please go to the other link and let people know how to find us here. If someone can do that for us, that would be really great. It's buffering. Okay.
Okay. Okay. We see.
There's a few people here. And if anybody, please, if you could let the people on the other video know to come here, because I am unable to do that. This has not worked very well for us today. Okay. Well, we do have some people here. So I think since this is going to be up on the record, we might as well get started and talk about what we wanted to start talking about today. And if you're missing the live stream because of the technical problems we had, this will be available so you can listen to this later.
Hi, Julie. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all.
Welcome to the live stream.
That was super stressful, and I'm really sorry. I really am stressed about how badly that went. So thank you for being patient with us.
Yeah, my tea is cold now.
No, my tea is still hot.
Anyway. Okay. Let's start off by saying that Sharon will be on the Into the Parabnormal. Is it a podcast or
it's
just kind of a radio?
It's broadcast? A live radio broadcast online, Into the Parabnormal, on Saturday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And I will be interviewed by Jeremy Scott, the host of Into the Parabnormal. It's a show that focuses a lot on UFOs and alien activity and things like that. So I'll be talking all about Orgonite, and we've done that before. So we're probably going to be talking more about the next steps in the energetic war, because we've used Orgonite to fight off these very parasites that tried to stop us from doing our broadcast today. And we've been fighting them off for many, many years now. And I've spoken with Scott before, and we talked about that. So this time we're going to be talking about the next steps in the war, what we've done with Orgonite, what you can do to keep this going and keep on whittling down this artificial intelligence, this parasitic artificial intelligence that has taken over the earth. I know it's ironic. I'm using their technology today to broadcast, and that's why it's not going right. It didn't work. The scheduled stream just simply didn't work.
We literally couldn't join our own live stream.
It just wouldn't let us, but here we are. So hello, everybody. Oh, you're here. Okay, so people are getting us. So has anybody been so kind as to let the other video people know to come to this link? Because I'd love to be able to fix that right now, but we can't do it. We're here now. So let me know if you've sort of spread the word on that other video.
Buffering hardcore. Does that mean? Well, I know buffering is. Are you finding this is loading very slowly and maybe is choppy or not sounding or appearing right?
It's not working well today.
I can't say I'm surprised.
It sounds like it sounds like a bunch of people are having trouble hearing it. Okay, well, if this doesn't work, we're going to have to come up with new ways of doing this. We really, really wanted to make it work. The last one worked great. We're going to keep trying and see what we can do to improve the live stream.
Maybe the scheduling is the problem.
Mm-hmm. That's what I think. I think scheduling it is the problem. I think what we're going to have to do is
just create it as we come on.
So that's what we'll do then.
Okay, smooth. He says Keith says smooth on my end.
Okay, great. I'm glad. Okay, if it's working well for some people, it's working. Okay, well, last week was actually the test, and this week was supposed to be the real one. And last week as if it was scheduled, and this one went as if it was a test. But we're here to answer questions today because this is an Ask Us Anything Q&A, and what's been going on lately. And I want to answer some questions before you even ask, because one of the things that's been going on that's so weird is flight cancellations. And now this 5G rollout in your airports that they're saying could be a problem for flights. What is going on with the artificial intelligence? We are looking at a massive computer virus that was set in motion in late 2019. And this is some of what I want to talk with Scott about on the interview. So I'm not going to focus on it today, but there was a major ghost in the machine put in there in late 2019. It had something to do with Orgonite gifting and other things as people return to God and flip the energy on the planet. So what they call COVID is actually just a cover up for this massive computer virus that was set in motion in late 2019. And a lot of the things we're seeing with flight disruptions and regarding the 5G rollout near airports has a lot to do with this computer virus. So all the problems they're having has to do with a computer virus.
As usual.
Well, and
everything, because everything is integrated with the AI now. Everything is dependent on computers, and when the computers start to go awry, things that you would not even think would be an issue are now suddenly just becoming, you can't even get certain supplies anymore. For example, that's just one example. I could give countless others.
And it's interesting because I think a lot of what's in the news as reasons for these problems are cover-ups of the computer virus. I know that COVID started as a way to slow everybody down so that they could kind of regroup, because they were suffering so badly from all this Orgonite gifting and the changing of energy and people becoming free, and they were suffering and they needed to clamp down as human consciousness increased. So their software is actually short-circuiting right now, and it happened after we gifted Silicon Valley. Their stuff is short-circuiting, and so the whole control structure of our world is artificial intelligence. And when they short-circuit and we defeat their DOR grid, all the cell towers, they can't fly anymore. There's a connection between the cell towers and the EMF and what they're doing in the sky. We've known that for years. So the more that we disable that, the less they can fly. And I think that had something to do with the flight cancellations. And I think the 5G rollout, we would say, well, why would that be a problem? You'd think that that deadly energy would help with their ability to do whatever it is they're doing up there. But my thought on that is because so much Orgonite is already in the environment, already working, that the cell towers, which have been neutralized, they're still neutralized. And all the 5G that they're putting in is also neutralized by the proximity of the Orgonite. And the more DOR you add, the harder the Orgonite works. So I think it's backfiring on them. I think they're adding it to make it more deadly for us and to make it capable for them to do what they're doing up there. But also by adding it when we've already gifted Orgonite and
it
others
just makes the Orgonite work harder.
So it ends up backfiring on them.
Something, yes, the house. You're correct, Emily. The house of cards is falling, and I often think of the analogy when I think about what's going on here of being trapped in quicksand. It's like if you struggle, you only sink faster and deeper. So with all this Orgonite, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of Orgonites in the United States area. So when you think about all that Orgonite that surround, inevitably any further DOR sources they add will be in the proximity of other pieces of Orgonite. So yeah, it's really falling apart for them.
It is. And so you'll notice fewer and fewer planes. And if you're first seeing chemtrails for the first time in your life, you're going to see more of them because you're going to just be hyper aware. But it's way, way less than we ever had before. We don't exactly know what they're doing up there. The government narrative of spraying is not the truth. That's a big cover up for what's going on. But this has everything to do with transporting on an interdimensional level. They're doing this. It's too much to get into on this live stream because it's a Q&A. But just so you know, people have been asking me that a lot. That's why I'm starting with it. It is a major glitch in the whole thing they've got going on.
Hello, Nicole. Welcome to the forum, and the live stream. Sorry, it was still a little scrambled from this the technical difficulties we had. So it's sorry we're late. For anyone who's just joining now, we couldn't even get into our own live stream. YouTube was blocking us out. So we just needed to start a new one from scratch. So thank you for the people that are here. And thank you, Nicole, for saying we have been getting so much rain in California now. You are correct. That is the opposite of the disinfo narrative that the mainstream media is forcing down everyone's throats. But yes, California has been getting quite a lot of rain. And I feel like we've talked about this over and over again. The drought propaganda continues, no matter how much rain falls, no matter where it falls, no matter what the difficulties are in people getting in and out of ski resorts, for example, in the Sierra Nevada mountains. They will continue with the drought propaganda unabated.
Well, they have to. But if you look at the U.S. Drought Monitor now, it's kind of funny. California has gone from exceptional drought to just severe drought. That's how it'll always be. They have a special website now just for drought, associated with the government websites for weather, like NOAA. And that is part of the narrative. So, yeah, definitely they will continue to say drought no matter what happens with the rain. It's just less drought or more drought. That's it.
Keith asks, is there somewhere we can find your music?
Whose music?
Do we have music?
Well, I used to play music years ago.
So did I.
And you can find my music. My band was called Bum Tech, and it is on YouTube. Haven't done music in a long time, but I used to be in a band called Bum Tech, BUMTECH. It was like a consulting firm for slacking off. So that's what I did many years ago.
And I was in a variety of different bands. There's stuff out there if people search. I'm not going to encourage anyone to do that.
Well, in our old shows,
I never played anything that was all that good.
Well, I liked his music, and his music was the outro for our radio show that we used to do on American Freedom Radio, and my music was the intro. So that was like the only place we ever put our music into the show.
Chad says, I've noticed more chemtrails after gifting. Is that normal?
That is normal. You're going to see it more because I think what happens is that they're reacting to the change of energy, and they're going to want to come back through and try to create the energy field that they need to survive again. So they're going to come through and they're going to fly through, but the chemtrails will look different. So you might be noticing more of them, but you'll also notice that they break and that they're sometimes just more, sometimes they're brighter. They're very, very bright, and then they break up as opposed to being kind of dull and spreading out.
I just had an idea. Maybe I should go in and delete the inactive live stream that's not going to work.
Can you do that while we're talking?
I think I can.
Well, let me answer another question then. Let's see. Does Orgone age? Do we need to do anything to keep it working? Oh yeah, that's a very, very good question. So I'm going to answer that while David's going to try to delete our other video. Yes. Orgonite does not stop working. Yes, that's a great question, because I hear so many people saying that your Orgonite has to be thrown away and replaced after a while, but it's not true at all. In fact, you don't have to do anything to keep your Orgonite working, because it's a constantly generating Orgone energy. It's a generator of OR. So one thing you can do if you want to kind of give it new life is you can rinse it in water, and you can kind of charge it up with your intention. Were you able to delete that video?
It wasn't even showing up there. So
I don't know.
Phantom live stream.
We'll figure this all out, and it will go better next time. But yes, your Orgonite will always work forever because it's a perpetual free energy machine, basically. So unless it falls apart or burns up in a fire.
Chad says, yes, there are more, but they are breaking. That you will notice quite often. The more that's gifted, the more you will notice their navigational difficulties.
Yes, and also notice curves, not just the breaking, but check out if they're curving, because the Orgone energy is creating a spiraling vortex. It goes up into the sky, from the earth to the sky, and you'll see them totally losing it. They are turning in ways they're not supposed to turn. So check that out. See if you see them curving.
This is good. Nona asks, I want to ask about the day of Sabbath, Saturday, to obey this commandment. Does the time count from Friday after sunset till Saturday sunset, or otherwise? Yes, that is correct. It is the day, the new day officially does start at sunset and begins with the evening, and then ends with the morning and the afternoon, and it concludes at sunset the following day. So yes, to properly obey that command, what we do is we look up when sunset is, and we begin our our Sabbath, our Shabbat, as it were, at that time, and it continues all the way until sunset Saturday evening.
Yeah, that's a very good question. That's because the days are set up that way, and the evening and the morning was the first day. That's why.
Yeah,
that's why it works that way.
Thank you for
Mhm.
I was thinking that just as you said it, but
Yeah.
that is, it is said for that reason, because the evening is the first block of time and then the morning is the second. So
I'm very happy to see that so many people were
Yeah.
able to make it in here, and our apologies again for the technical difficulties at the
and
beginning.
I'm very happy to hear of someone who's inquiring about the Sabbath. I would like to see more people obeying the Sabbath, and obviously obeying it on the correct day. But any interest in that is very much appreciated on my end.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Nona.
Yes, it is confusing browsing this on the internet,
Yeah.
as it is with most things related to being godly or obeying the laws of God. Is there's so much disinfo out there, and that is mostly on purpose. And the religions do a fantastic job at making all these different little groups of rules, none of which are completely in adherence to God's law. So there's so much disinfo out there. It is a problem.
Well, the best
I do
source is the
acknowledge that it's a
Bible.
huge problem.
If you read the Bible, there's no disinfo there. It is what it is. That's the law, and that's how it is. But I also appreciate the question, because a lot of people are starting to celebrate or observe the Sabbath on the correct day, and also to celebrate the festivals. You know, a lot of people, Christians, are starting to do the same festivals that Jews do, and Jews are starting to come to Yeshua like the Christians do. So this is a good trend that's happening right now, is returning to obeying God.
Absolutely. And just to clarify, the three harvest festivals that we're talking about are Passover, which is usually in March or April, Shavuot, which is usually in the first couple weeks of June, and Sukkot, which is around when Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah and a variety of other days are, which is somewhere in between end of September and early October. They vary from year to year, because obviously the Gregorian calendar, or the Julian calendar, or whatever it is, doesn't match up with the Hebrew calendar. And interestingly enough, the Hebrew calendar may not be the correct calendar either. We were starting to see some evidence that a website we look at, standinfaith.org, is written by a man who lives on the East Coast of the United States, and he is a Christian. He calls himself a Christian. He has obeyed the Hebrew calendar for a long time, but there is evidence that might not be the correct calendar either. So, just food for thought. I mean, it's very tough. Obviously, we have when some new revelation like this comes up, we have to do our due diligence and look into it and then see if it's legit or not. But that's what the Spirit of God is for, the Ruach HaKodesh, because the Spirit is within us all. If we are in touch with that Spirit, we will know when something is true and right and godly, and we will know when, on the flip side of that, when we're totally being deceived.
Mhm.
So we need to rely on that. And of course, what's the biggest disruption to that connection?
We have a major energetic malfunction as humans. A lot of that stuff I was talking about kind of in broad terms earlier with artificial intelligence, it's too much to get into. So I think the most important thing to know is that you're affected by it if you let it control you. And that is the opposite of God's energy. So if you're letting yourself be controlled by deadly radiation, it's going to be so hard for you to find that connection that you seek with God.
Yes, I will put the link right here.
What is this for? Stand in Faith. Yeah, that's a really excellent website. I just will go back to the point about the technology controlling us. This is given by Satan, and even certain people in the church have started to recognize that. There was one article I mentioned in my book that was about a Russian patriarch in the Orthodox Church who came out publicly to say that smartphones were given by as a tool of Satan.
I believe the title was "Smartphones Are Paving the Way for the Antichrist."
That's right, and this is because people are becoming addicted to them and becoming controlled by them, and they're having thoughts that aren't their own, and these thoughts are not godly thoughts. So those cell phones, I mean, does it seem like something that comes from God? I mean, does the telecommunications companies, do they seem like godly to you? So you have to look at the motivations behind all of this. Oh, you're very welcome. And thanks to everybody for joining and chatting along.
Yes.
I feel kind of bad about the other video not working. So I think there might be some lost people.
Well, I don't think so, because it just dropped off of the dashboard. When I went to try and remove it, it wasn't even showing up there. So I think, well, hopefully, in case you're joining us now, we were unable to get into our own live stream for whatever reason, so we had to just kind of create this new one on the fly. So I think going forward, I will say that probably if we end up doing this as a regular thing, whether it be Thursday or a different day, we will not create the live stream in advance,
Right.
because I don't want a thing like this ever happening again.
So what we'll do is
incredibly stressful. And I don't like being
stressful.
late, and I want it. We set all this up just so that we'll go off without a hitch, and of course the exact opposite happens.
Well, anyway, that's how we're going to do it. So next time when you join us, just we'll let you know the date and time at the last video, and then you can join us at the next one. There are a couple of questions. One is from Chad about the assumed name certificate.
Well, real quick, let me just move in order. Anything external, yes, anything external has the ability to be made an idol / false god, because anything other than the true God is a false god, and that includes us humans as one, which is what countries are. So
right,
you're not allowed to do those things. You're not allowed to obey that God. You're not allowed to bow down and serve it. That's why that part is in the second commandment. All these things are in Exodus. All of the fundamentals of law are in Exodus, Leviticus, and to a lesser extent in Deuteronomy. So if you go into those first few books of the Old Testament, all of the law is laid down there, and that applies to everyone. Okay, regarding the Chad asks, regarding the ANC, it looks like you have to renew it every year. That's correct. What happens if you don't? If you don't, then the registration lapses and the name is no longer active or in good standing. You can redo it at that point. You'll have to pay another $50. But if you renew the registration on time, which is the last day of December every year, and it'll give you an email to the email that you give to them, and just sort of give you a heads up at the end of the year when it's time to re-register. But all you have to do is renew it, and it's free for, I believe, 10 years.
Yeah, you just renew it every year.
It's a free renewal, just as long as you do it on time.
Julie asks about which translation of the Bible do you use?
My confidence.
We use the Tree of Life version, which is a Messianic Jewish Bible. It's basically a Christian Bible that uses a lot of Hebrew words. So it's pretty much the same kind of translation. The King James Bible is recommended as a very good translation, but it's harder to read. And there's actually a literal, I think it's called the Concordant Literal Translation, which I have to go check out. Thomas Noss of standinfaith.org references that version a lot, because we want literal translations. Even if it doesn't read like literature, sometimes we want to know exactly. So we use the Tree of Life version, but there are other good versions too.
It's important when gaining an understanding of these fundamentals of law, whether Old or New Testament, it's important that you cross-reference different versions with each other, because stuff does get lost. And all it takes is, Marcus says, it only takes one word to lead people astray. I'll do better than that. It only takes one punctuation mark to lead people in the wrong direction.
There is one like that. It's interesting.
Yes, it was in Titus. In Titus, in our Messianic Bible, it says, it should say our ... our God, comma, and Savior, Messiah Yeshua, but the comma is left out, so that's part of that slippery slope that leads to incorrect ideas like the Trinity, is that people think Jesus is God when he's not. He's the Son of God, and that comma makes the distinction, makes the separation between the two. But yeah, that's one that I caught as soon as I read it. Just that one little comma missing, similar to the comma in the name holder field.
That's a very important comma.
Very, very important.
There was another version that said our God and our Savior, to separate the two, because there's God and there's the Son of God. And even Yeshua himself says that he's not God, that he's his son.
Nona asks, any insight about the ComVid AI failing situation in general?
Well, this is such a huge topic that I'm writing a book about it right now. But what's happening is they have a computer virus. So this is caused by a number of factors, but Orgonite gifting is huge in that. I mean, Don Croft had said that Orgonite gifting would end world tyranny. And we also knew that gifting the towers was the only solution, which, why would that be? It's because the artificial intelligences run that system. So with the failure of AI, we're going to see eventually a total breakdown of all financial systems and everything. Like, I don't even know, will YouTube be up? Will the banks be open? We don't know what's going to happen, but there's going to be some kind of, I don't want to be all gloom and doom or anything. It's just some kind of collapse, but it's not like a bad thing.
No.
It just means it's going to be a major change, and we're not going to be able to rely on technology like we used to. But the fact is, it's controlling us right now, and it is artificial intelligence, so it's programmed. It doesn't have its own intelligence, so we're being attacked relentlessly, and people say, how come they never stop spraying? They're not really spraying. It's a computer program running in the sky. It's not actually plain spraying lines. It's a holographic show to mask something else going on up there that we're not supposed to see. So we are just short-circuiting the whole thing. Whatever it is, it's short-circuiting. I don't know, that might be too broad, but it does mean the end of countries. It means the end of corporations.
It means the end of anything that God hates, which is sadly most things. I hate to put it so bluntly, but there are a lot of things that are going to have to change. But I agree with you that these things have to go away. But I can't understate this. It's going to be, for the people who are godly, it's going to be, it's not going to be without its rough edges, for lack of a better term, but it's not going to be like Mad Max, you know, where people are just, there's utter lawlessness and chaos and everyone's shooting at each other and people are just like killing each other for gasoline and water and basic supplies.
You're describing the current world.
It's not going to be like that. It's going to be, it's going to be a phasing out of those things that shouldn't be here, and a reestablishing of God's kingdom on earth is how it's going to be. How accurate, Keith asks, how accurate do you think The Princess Bride was?
I don't know. I don't remember the movie.
I barely remember. I saw it in high school. I didn't get a thing. I guess maybe we should revisit it.
Nicole?
35-year-old movie.
Or is it Nicole?
I just said Nicole. Just Nicole sounded weird to say. So,
well, what if that's her name?
Well, then I sound like a jackass, and I'm sorry. Can you recommend any documentaries on Orgone energy?
I could recommend books. I would recommend that you read Wilhelm Reich's books. There really aren't a lot of documentaries. However, if you go to our website,
thekembo.com. Right back. I'm going to turn this light on.
Okay. If you go to our website, thekembo.com, and go to the media section, we were actually privileged to be on a TV show about Orgonite, which was like a short documentary, and that was on Viceland. So you can check out, if you go down the list of videos, you'll see one that says, can Orgone energy reduce stress, or something like that. But it's about way more than that. And they actually even used one of our pyramids in an experiment on the show. So we were in one. It was a short documentary. You can check that out on our site. Other than that, there's not really a lot of media on Orgone energy.
No
it's
Wikipedia.
Very suppressed topic. I think that Viceland caught on to it early on. This was in 2016 that they came and approached us about this. And back then, it wasn't all taboo yet because people hadn't taken it to the level we have where it's literally breaking down the entire control structure. So they wanted to have it on TV, I think, before anyone else did. But then no one else did it. So I would recommend reading Wilhelm Reich. Start with, if you want to know really about Orgone energy, Cosmic Superimposition, and Ether, God, and Devil. Those are great books to learn about Orgone energy. And you'll notice that he does equate Orgone energy with God's energy and deadly radiation with Satan's energy. So he really is the first scientist to all bring this all together, the spiritual aspects of it, and then this real world, like concrete observation.
Teresa, your explanation of the 10 Commandments, but especially of the first 3, are the best explanation ever. Thank you.
Thanks.
What's more important than the first 3? I mean,
nobody understands it, and I'm so glad you do. Thank you for sharing that it worked for you, because we really want people to understand what that's all about, because that's the key. That's the key to getting out of what we call Babylon and slavery.
Gary, I believe there is good and bad aspects of a smartphone, but ultimately, if it doesn't lead you to God, then it's in essence a delusion / Satan. I would have to agree with that.
Yeah,
I would have to agree.
That is very true. And also the energy of the phone and the addiction to it. Addiction keeps you from God. I'm now studying about addiction and reading about Alcoholics Anonymous and how the recovery process works, because I'd like to apply the rehab program to smartphone rehab. I'd like to help people overcome addiction to cell phones. What I know about addiction so far is that the first thing you have to do is recognize you have the addiction. And the second thing you have to do is admit there's a higher power. But you can't do the second one until you do the first. So you've got to overcome the addiction by first acknowledging the addiction. And then God will take it from you. And that's how it works. It's amazing when you read how it's done.
So just, it's one more way for people to bring themselves out of bondage to something very detrimental and reestablish that connection with the Creator. That this is all this is about, is reestablishing the connection with the life giver. This is our own life force we're talking about. All of these, the Orgone energy is just a scientific name for the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh.
Mm-hmm.
It's all different words for the same thing.
Or prana. These are other names for it as well.
I end up paraphrasing your book.
That's
unintentionally.
Okay. No, it's okay. I want more people to read my book. It's available on the website. If you're really interested in delving deep into Orgone energy, Orgonite, especially how you can gift, how it works, you can see what we did in our results. I put it all out there. It's like a story, kind of. The first part's more like a textbook. It's more, you have to just get through it, because it's a lot of hard information. It explains why it's not the government doing this to us. It explains how Orgonite works. It tells you about the invisible enemy, these interdimensional parasites. People think the government is the problem. No, the government is our own creation. There's something above that that's the problem. The book explains how that's all connected, and then how we did it, how we gifted the environment, the changes it had, and how you can do the same.
The government it's not even real. It's a legal fiction. We put that there. That's, there's, Marcus says, there's nobody here on earth but us people. And yeah, we're not going to get into the whole extraterrestrial thing. We're not going to open that can of worms. Too. But as far as we are concerned, what's important for us to know is that we put them there, and we are the only ones that can do away with it by withdrawing our support. But we have to give our support to something. If we start thinking we can rule ourselves again, we'll just end up with the same thing happening all over and over again. And what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yep. Well, Teresa says, Meg on Facebook will play a big part in people's lives. I think this is the new platform that they're developing. I think there's some kind of new Facebook that's coming out. But, there's two different realities going on, and that's to bring people more into the artificial intelligence reality. They don't need to strap things to our faces, by the way, for us to be in a virtual reality. And they don't need to insert nanotechnology into our bloodstream for us to be in a false reality. They do it through energy and frequency, and they do it through thought control. So they get you in a certain state of mind, and then they put thoughts in there. So I think that really abstinence is the key. Honestly, I think just stay off it as much as possible and use it only as needed. And that doesn't mean don't use a computer and research things and learn things and be in touch or run your business. It just means be responsible with the technology and use it for its purpose. And I think these social media things, I don't get involved in it. It's a big time waster.
I got off Facebook 12 years ago. Yes, the states are all registered legal fictions too. Yes, that is because the states are just sub entities of the United States, and below them is the states, and then the counties, and then the local. They're all just different parts of the beast,
And that's
which
the
is what the whole
false,
thing.
yeah, that's the false reality. That's the false God. And we have another Orgonite question here. Do you recommend any other types of precious metals, stones, gems, etc.? I think that shungite's a great addition to Orgonite. We use, of course, quartz and fine metal shavings. They can be anything: brass, aluminum, iron filings, steel, anything like that. And that's all you really need in the resin. We also use a copper coil. But yes, you can add shungite granules or any other stones that mean something to you. And I have noticed that calcites are amazing for breathing issues. It's kind of an amazing thing that just sort of happened, that someone who had asthma got a green calcite pyramid, a small pyramid. And he told me that after 60 years living with asthma his whole life, he was cured. So some of these diseases are actually caused by EMF, and neutralizing it helps. Also, our cat, may he rest in peace.
Yes.
He lived to be 16, and at the end of his life, he would sometimes get respiratory infections. I put a blue calcite Orgonite on him, and instead of having to take him to the vet the next day for antibiotics, he was cured in the morning.
By the way, Keith, thank you for reminding me. I also want to announce to everyone that in addition to carrying Orgonite, we have also started carrying some stones and crystals on our shop. They're sort of towards the back after the Orgonite, but they're there if you can search by category and look at the stones and crystals that we have, because we have a lot. Obviously, making Orgonite for 8 years will do that, but we wanted to share some of what we have with others if there are people out there interested in bashing up quartz or even non-quartz stones and incorporate that into making their own Orgonite. So that is available now.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand what good frequency. Good frequency is saying something about Alcoholics Anonymous having a high failure rate. I do understand what he's saying here, because if you don't really adhere to, it's all about rehab. I don't know if they're Masonic, and maybe there's some of that influence there. I'm just looking at it strictly
Yeah, I don't
from
doubt there is.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it strictly from the steps to rehabilitating someone from a hopeless addiction. So I'm studying the idea of addiction and what causes it. So that's one of many sources that I'm looking at. But for me, the main thing is, what can I take from other addiction rehabilitation programs and maybe start to develop some kind of a program for people with tech addiction who are addicted to smartphones? Because I know that this is holding back so many people from being able to be adequate planetary healers, to enjoy their own lives. So many of the problems people tell me about are caused by their own addiction. And nobody acknowledges that smartphone addiction is actually an addiction. I think this is kind of the core of the problem here, is that it's an addiction. It's a very, very deadly addiction, and people do not realize what they're doing to their minds, their bodies, and souls with it.
It also interferes with ability to manage the aspects of your life that you need to be on top of. Like, just to give one example, financial. Everyone has certain things that they have to do, whatever their walk of life may be, is what I'm trying to say. And if you can't do your banking or have all your assets in order, or even something as simple as not going into excessive credit card debt, not going into any credit card debt, I want to say, but let's start with the manageable goals here. The debt problem in America is just, it's off the charts. It's absolutely off the charts, and people are just, they're kicking the can down the road, and you're getting in deeper and deeper and deeper when you do that, and it's out of control, I think. And this is part of what's driving all of these bubbles. The real estate bubble, why pay for a house now? Why get a house later when you can just buy it now? It's really low interest rate. All of this is a trap. This is all a trap. Mortgages are a trap.
It is a trap, actually. It's a 30-year prison. And I know there's ways you can do it shorter time, but we're just being very careful and steering clear of that whole ball of wax because one, it's unaffordable. It's completely unattainable for regular people. But two, even if it was attainable, I've got to know what I'm getting into. I can't just jump into something. God says we can't do it. And if God says we can't do it, I'm sure not going to take a chance and do it until I fully know if I can. I need to know if it's allowed.
And don't get me wrong, renting is not exactly a prospect that leaves me jumping for joy or anything. It's not great.
It's its own kind of slavery.
It is. But when you look around at the world, at the few options that we have, you got to go with what is lawful. And renting is lawful. Yes. Thank you. We pay debt with more debt. We really haven't paid for anything.
That is correct. It's a very hard concept, but it is correct.
Exchanging debt notes. That probably of all of Marcus's Servant King's episodes, probably confusion of money is about the hardest that there is.
Yep. I'm still learning it. I've watched it like at least 20 times. We cycle through them again and again and again, and we're still learning. So if you've watched it once and you don't get it yet, don't worry. We've watched it so many times, I can't even count anymore. And we're still learning new things because we're talking about a transformation of the mind. This isn't just about book knowledge and just memorizing things. This is about a new state of existence.
Yes, fear is their biggest weapon. I couldn't agree more.
That's true. And yes, good frequency. I agree with you that addiction is about trauma, spiritual contracts, and a connection between the gut and brain. All of these things. Addiction is, in fact, this is why I'm studying this Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step. It's just another way that's another group of people that I recognize that the addiction is not a mental problem exclusively, but there's a physical problem. The body, they call it an allergy to alcohol. Dr. Hulda Clark had a similar perception on it. However, she didn't call it an allergy because everything we call an allergy is actually just a reaction to toxins or parasites. The body of the alcoholic simply cannot process alcohol. They cannot have a drop. They have no control. Likewise, the serious smartphone addict, and don't say that any of you are, but I've seen them around in the world. The serious smartphone addict cannot function without it. Their skin will crawl if they can't use it. We had a big power outage once in LA, and our neighbor stumbled out of the house with his phone. He only had so much charge left, and he was just bewildered. You know, he had to get that phone charged up. There are people out there who are so addicted. It's not just a mental problem, but a physical problem. Their body perhaps is more susceptible to control by EMF, probably because of toxins they've consumed. So there's so much to talk about on the topic of addiction. Mm-hmm. But yes, it is all of those things. Trauma causes it. Yes, spiritual contracts. In the case of smartphone addiction, definitely one with Satan. So you've got to break that contract, sever it.
Emily says, I cannot find Marcus's videos anymore on YouTube. There is one guy who has posted, if you search Servant King, he has posted all videos from each series. They're a little ways down, but you should be able to. I wish I could remember the channel name, but there's a bunch of bad stuff on his channel in addition to that. So I don't really, I can't vouch for his channel. That's why I can't remember what it's called. But if you search Servant King, you should be able to. The first one in a series, I think the intro should come up, and then I think by clicking on his channel and just searching Servant King, you should be able to track the rest of them down. But they are still there. But Marcus, his channel has been taken over and all the stuff has been taken down.
Emily also asked or mentions this, and I would like to address this comment as well. I tried getting a landline phone and the company set it up through the internet. There was no other option where I live, and it defeated the purpose. Actually, there's nothing wrong with having a voice over internet phone. If you can get your internet to be hardwired and not Wi-Fi, which is easy. I'm actually going to probably put together an article tutorial on that because I'm realizing that I tell people what to do and it's hard for them to understand what I'm saying about the technology. I actually know a lot about computers and technology, and that is why I'm able to take control of my technology. Not when we tried to start our video today, but that was just YouTube screwing with us, obviously. But I have been able to mostly take control of my technology. And when it comes to internet and phone, we also have a voice over internet phone because the hardwired landline from AT&T is prohibitively expensive. We were spending crazy amounts of money on that landline. So instead, we got an UMA, which is a voice over internet phone, and it's very, very cheap. It connects to your modem, and you are able to use it without Wi-Fi. So we have no Wi-Fi in our house, yet we have voice over internet phone. So there is a way, and you didn't defeat the purpose. Actually, you did a good thing. All you have to do now is get yourself a modem that doesn't have Wi-Fi capabilities. And if you need more than one device, you'll connect it with a non-Wi-Fi router. And I will put together an article about this soon, because I think maybe even a video, but we'll start by writing it up, because I can give you the instructions you need to go Wi-Fi free. So we have some more. Do we have any more questions?
Yep.
Okay.
Starting here.
Are you going to read a question?
The physical, Nona says, the physical quote unquote mark happening right now, people who have received that can be detected by Bluetooth scanning, shown as a MAC address, like a network card.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing is just that, as in terms of the physical mark, is just it's all culminating in just this general integration with the AI, and there are many different aspects of that. I don't doubt. I don't really know how all of that type of technology works, but I do know that it's all bad. And this goes back to what you were saying, that the only solution here is complete abstinence from all of that.
Even if you don't get a physical chip in your body, and people think of the mark of the beast as a chip, even if you don't do that, you're fully trackable by your smartphone if you use one. There's no getting around that. Airplane mode does not get you around that. You just need to abstain, complete abstinence. And I use it just for if we're out and we have to contact someone, we turn it on and do that. And I've been criticized for that before, but the amount of travel and gifting we do it's extensive, and we're in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes we're far from home. And if there was an emergency, we need to have it. So we have a $3 a month plan. We turn it on as needed, and it's good to have for emergencies, but it's off most of the time and wrapped. And I don't think that is really what the problem is. Plus, we don't use internet service on it. So we're not contributing to the 5G. I think it's okay if you have to have an emergency phone. If everybody used it that way, there wouldn't be 5G. It wouldn't ever have happened. It would have just been the most rudimentary cell phone system that didn't really affect us that much. Oh, thanks, Emily. I'm glad that helped you with your Wi-Fi phone concerns, because it's very easy to do that hardwired. And you can even feel free to email me if you'd like, and I can kind of give you more info. But yeah, if people don't know too much about internet, that's going to make you more susceptible to whatever the company says you have to have, and you don't have to do what they say you have to do. They always will say, oh, that's all there is. There's always another option. Yeah. Every cable internet company has the option that you can get your own, buy your own modem and not rent from them. That is part of the terms. So find out about which ones are compatible, and you can buy them online. And then you don't have to pay the rental fee, so there's an extra benefit.
Yeah, you never want to take what the company says right off the bat at face value. You will always have to dig for that non-wireless option, because they're not going to just present it to you. Here we have this. It doesn't work like that, because their whole thing is about just getting people, the people who want to just take the path of least resistance, that don't know how any of this stuff works. And I'm not claiming I'm an expert, but you need to do your research, because they will just give you that standard, well, this is how we do it, there's no other choice. But yeah, that's never the case.
I'm unfortunately not able to answer the question if voice over internet phone works with a fax machine. I'm not sure, but because I don't use a fax machine, but it would stand to reason that if all it needs is a phone connection, you could try it. I don't see why not. It is basically the same thing as having a landline phone. It just goes through the internet instead of through the copper wiring. And Nicole, very good that you got rid of your smartphone. and that it did help with your mental clarity. Now, the old flip phone stuff, that's fine. I mean, it's not good for you to use either one, but that's fine if you need something for an emergency. I would recommend that you would just turn it off when you don't need it and wrap it in foil so you're not trackable, and you should be just fine. Because I've noticed the same when I've had to go on the internet with my phone, like 1 week after CompVid started. So back in 2019, everything went crazy. Our internet service didn't work very well anymore in early 2020 when CompVid was really taking off and the lockdowns were starting. So everyone was home, bogging down the network, and this computer virus was happening all at the same time. Our internet completely stopped working for a week and they wouldn't fix it. So we got a internet plan on our phone, data plan for 1 week, and we hated it. And we would use it we log in 3 times a day to check our emails and our shop online, the bare minimum. And we would be on for no more than a half hour a day with all those sessions. And,
Cumulatively.
We were so sick, discombobulated, confused, befuddled.
Like the guy you were talking about, just like wondering, what do I do now?
I was the opposite of him. He was like that without the phone, and I was like that with it. So what I've noticed is the internet part of it. So if you're connected to the network and you can go online with your phone and use apps and all that stuff, that's the really, really bad part. If you're just using it for talk and text and just occasionally as needed, that's not the horrible part.
Keith, what genre of music was the intro to American Freedom Radio? That was your song.
That was my band's Bum Tech, and we didn't really have a genre. That's why we didn't go anywhere with it, probably. Also because you have to sign all kinds of blood contracts with Satan to go anywhere in the music industry. But,
you have to drink fetus blood and like pulled children's heart out on a sacrifice table.
We didn't do any of that stuff. So we were just a couple of people. This was with my ex-partner I was with for 12 years before I met Gabe. Gabe and I have known each other for 10 years. So this is older music. I was doing music through the 90s and up to around 2013 was when we did our last recording. And that piece of music is by Bumtech, 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 a slack off consulting firm, consulting firm for slacking off. And we used to perform in Portland where we lived and tried to do stuff there, and moved back to LA, did some music in LA when we got back home. And that was one of the last things we did was that piece of music. Genre, closest things that I could ever come up with was shoegaze or indie, which I hate that word. I don't know.
Such a meaningless, bastardized term.
We were a rock band with 2 people and a drum machine.
Good Frequency asks, please explain again why you think 4G was a bit worse in ways than 5G. It is helpful. I got really ill during 4G.
Oh, interesting. Well, 4G and 5G are both terrible. So for me, the difference between 4G and 5G, and I've used my phone, I don't think my phone goes to 5G, but that 1 week that we had to get online with it, I think it was 4G, it killed me. So, I mean, they're both terrible for you. 4G towers are supposedly, okay, if those big cell towers are indeed 4G towers and not just weather control, those towers are much more pervasive and far-reaching. 5G is much shorter range and easier to avoid. So in your own life, if you can stay away from those big cell towers and live live over a quarter mile from one, hopefully, if not gift it, that's good. You could stay away from it with distance, but 5G is you bring it into your house. So with 5G, it's even easier to stay away from it with distance if you don't use it. But as soon as you use it, it's going to be just as bad. Does that make sense?
To me.
Okay.
Teresa says 5G is and will be used as a weapon. It's all a weapon.
Yeah. 4G, 5G, even the old 3G, all that stuff.
All DOR is a weapon to some degree.
It's a weaponized frequency. But yeah, the 4G towers, I don't know if they actually are 4G towers, but they're the ones that we associate with weather control and tower busting. 5G is those smaller transmitters in your neighborhood, and the best thing you can do is just not participate in the service. Oh, thanks for your compliment on the speaking voice. It's so funny. I used to hate my low voice. I don't know if you're talking about me or Gabe.
Yeah. What about my voice?
Your voice is very nice. I used to have a complex about it. Then people said I had a radio voice. So I started doing radio. So thanks. I also got called a transgender because of it right here on this channel, but I'm not. I know because I was born female and I checked, I made sure, but the low voice always bothered me for that reason. I thought it was like for guys. Let's see, any more questions?
Yeah, thank you, Nona. That's Surfer300ZX. That's the name of the channel.
Oh,
Thank
great.
you for
Okay.
that. But I will repeat my caveat that there's a lot of bad stuff on that channel that I would steer very clear from. But if you that is where it can be found, the Marcus's videos. If you just search Servant King within that channel, you should be able to just get his videos only.
More info about DOR energy. Nicole is asking for a little more info about DOR. DOR is deadly radiation. It can come from a number of sources. In Wilhelm Reich's time, the main source was nuclear radiation, which is the worst. It's the fastest frequency, tears us apart. But EMF from cell phones, cell towers, wireless internet, any wireless devices, smart TVs, the cameras that are Wi-Fi now, everything that's Wi-Fi, that's all DOR. It's all deadly. And the best thing you could do about DOR is always have lots of Orgonite around you and don't use things that generate DOR, because that way, if you're getting it from your neighbors, that's not nearly as bad as if it's in your own house. So the main thing about DOR is that it is just deadly energy. It also creates drought and warmer conditions on Earth. So when they say it's carbon or smog that causes warming, no, actually, DOR, deadly radiation, causes pollution to linger, thus making the look of smog, and causes warmer weather and less rain. So it's DOR that we're combating on Earth. That's the energy we want to eliminate and neutralize as much as possible.
That is the cause. All of these scapegoats are just effects from the cause. So there's a conflicting of cause and effect going on.
DOR is also the cause of cancer. It's stuck energy in the body. And of course, toxins can do this to the body too. All kinds of things can pollute the body, but it's the stuck energy of DOR that is the cause of all of this malaise on Earth.
So we are coming in on the hour mark in a few minutes here.
So I think we're going to wrap up soon.
Pretty soon. Any other questions?
Well, I thank everybody for showing up. And thank you for finding us after the first video didn't work. So what we're going to do is we are going to put in the description of this video when the next live stream will be, and you will just have to, I guess, find it. I'm not sure how that works. So I think that if you could find our next live stream, I guess what I would do is I would type the human frequency in the search bar on YouTube, and the live stream should come up in the search. That is my hope that it will work that way, since clearly scheduling it didn't work for us today. So I'm hoping that you'll come back again. And it was very nice of you all to come and talk with us today. It's fun interacting. I enjoy it.
And Sharon will be on Into the Paranormal on Saturday after sundown. At what time is it?
7 p.m. Pacific. And I will be talking more about the computer virus and the results of Orgonite gifting over the past couple of years.
Chad asks, how would a wife that changed her name when married file an ANC? Very simple. She's got to change the legal name back to its original.
Yeah. And probably get a new passport. That'd probably be all you need to do. We did address this in our name and identity episodes a little bit too, so you can go back and listen to those. But yeah, the name changed, but her name didn't actually change, just the legal name changed. So once it's reverted to her original surname, well, the legal name will be reverted to the original first, middle, last name of the entity that she operated. So that will go back to whatever that was. And then it'll match her surname and give a name. That's really to appease the people who need to see a photo ID. That's the main purpose for the whole thing.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you. Thank you. She says, you two took Marcus, Servant King's many hours of explanation on God's law and reduced it to a very manageable tutorial. That is exactly what we set out to do.
Thank you so much.
And we also hope that that people that can understand the assumed name certificate stuff will be able to see and feel and live that is the missing piece of the puzzle that Marcus didn't know about, but this is the continuation of that. This is how, by understanding the law, we can use this to correct what we've done by obeying the false god that is whatever country we think we are a member of, and use that get out of jail free card that he was talking about to return to our original creator, return to our original state of being, return to life, which is what we're doing. This is a spirit. When I say life and death, it's a spiritual death, and we return to a spiritual life. It's not a physical thing per se.
Well, thanks everybody so much. Our website is thekembo.com, and we will put a link to it in the description of the video. And we'll put other links there too. I think the Marcus videos. Do you want to put a link to that?
Well, I don't want people going
to that channel.
to that channel, because there's a lot of snares on it. So,
but the Marcus videos themselves are really good. So yeah, just search for his videos.
Yes,
Servant King on YouTube.
If you search for that, it should pop up within the first half dozen or so things that come up.
And in this description, we'll also put the time of the next live stream so that you can check back with our channel. We won't schedule it. And also a link to Into the Parabnormal, where you can listen to my interview live on Saturday night, and a link to the YouTube for Into the Parabnormal, so you can check out the archives and listen if you don't catch the original. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. We will hopefully be here next Thursday.
We're going to do this again next week. But
I'll say once again, what we're going to do is, instead of scheduling it in advance, because that clearly doesn't work, we're just plan on doing this again next Thursday,
see you next week
at 4 p.m. PST. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time.
Okay, wait, you want to make sure that it's going to save it, right?